Dallas, Texas has long been one of the fastest growing cities in America, known for its booming job market, diverse suburbs, and a great mix of city energy and family life. But lately, there's a different kind of story unfolding here in the Dallas area. In this video, we're going to be digging into the real reasons why some people are choosing to leave Dallas, and we'll break down what that actually means for anyone considering a move, whether you're moving here as a buyer or considering moving away as a seller. And finally, stick around to the end for 2 pro tips, and you won't want to miss them. One for the buyer and one for the seller. Hi, I'm Phil Martin, a top producing real estate agent here in North Texas for almost 15 years, and I help people thinking of buying or selling a home with direct talk about the realities of their situation in today's market and thoughtful strategies which are backed by proven go-to tactics that lead to their success. So let's get to it. Here are the top 5 real reasons people are leaving the Dallas area. Number 1, traffic is getting brutal. Dallas ranks among the top 15 congested U.S. cities in the U.S. Drivers lose 56 hours a year in traffic. Freeways like I-635, I-35 East, and US 75 are packed daily. Public transit, well, not much help outside the urban core. Some folks in places like Garland or Mesquite face 40 to 60-minute commutes each way. And the shift is people are moving to work from home-friendly suburbs like Prosper, Allen, Salina, and Melissa just to escape that gridlock in the Dallas area. Secondly, urban home prices are just pushing people out. Home prices in Dallas proper are up 40% since 2020. Want a move-in ready home in East Dallas or Oak Cliff? Prepare to spend $500,000 plus and still likely need to do major renovations. But in suburbs like Forney, Princeton, Aubrey, and beyond, you can still buy under $400,000. Many older homeowners are downsizing, selling in the city, pocketing that equity, and buying low-maintenance homes out in 55-plus communities or in suburbs, places like Melissa or Salina. And with that downsizing trend, people are also trading city life for quieter, more affordable suburban lifestyles with walking trails, community pools, and amenity centers, parks, and much bigger homes. Number 3, families want better schools and safety. Dallas Independent School District struggles. Only 45% of schools are rated A or B, and teacher turnover is really high. So in north of Dallas, the suburbs, they really dominate. Allen, Frisco, Prosper, McKinney, and more. Those independent school districts are A-rated for academics across the board and are highly sought after. Families really want structure, safety, community, and that often means leaving Dallas proper. Plus suburbs offer extras like community pools, youth sports, family-friendly events, many other venues that the city just can't compete with. And let's talk politics and lifestyle fit. Well, Dallas County is solidly in the Democrat camp when we talk about either end of the political spectrum. And as a strong Democratic stronghold, it has progressive policies, high activism, and big city regulations. Now, nearby counties like Collin County, Denton County, Rockwall County, and more of those to the north are more conservative and Republican in nature and independent-minded. And this suburban living often comes with less regulation, lower taxes, and more local control, which appeals to many residents who feel the city is just changing too fast. So the bottom line for people who want a different pace or political climate, the suburbs feel like a better cultural and personal fit. And lastly, one of the biggest problems that's perceived with Dallas proper is that there is a wealth gap that is really big. It's either luxury and high rises and big McMansions or struggling neighborhoods and poverty and not much in the way of a middle class or anything in the middle or opportunity to grow into the middle class. So the solution are the suburbs to the north like Allen, Frisco, Plano, McKinney, Salina, Prosper, etc., because these suburbs offer a more safe, a more stable, and in many ways a more affordable lifestyle than Dallas proper. Job growth is happening in the suburbs. Major employers like Toyota, Liberty Mutual, major medical logistics firms are setting up in Plano, Allen, and Richardson. And just think of all the corporations, the PGA, the Cowboy headquarters, all the sports complexes up in this area, and major corporations like Hewlett-Packard and PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, and the list goes on. Imagine all the support businesses. They're not the big corporations, the regional headquarters, the major headquarters, the support services of the cleaners, of the paper supplies, and anything else these corporations need, the restaurants that need to support, the other services and logistics that needs to support all the people that work at these major corporations offer a huge increase in job opportunity here in the suburbs north of Dallas. So for the middle class, the suburbs mean better jobs, better schools, and a better shot at stability. You know, it's not just about cost, because people aren't leaving Dallas just because it's expensive. They're leaving because the lifestyle just no longer fits. They're choosing the space, the safety, the schools, and sanity in the suburbs. In many ways, it's paying off. So what do buyers need to know if you're in Dallas? Well, the suburban demand is absolutely hot. So as a home buyer, you need to understand that the market of 2021, where it was a seller's market and the prices were always going up and buyers didn't have much options, well, those days are no longer here. It's a stable housing market in terms of the home value, to a slightly declining, maybe 2, 3, 4% in some areas. And so it's really turning into a buyer's market in many of the areas. There's more inventory. It takes longer days on the market to sell a home. So savvy sellers are going to be more open to some concessions if you ask. So don't be shy about negotiating. At least ask. And caution, if you're going to, put a bid in on the biggest, baddest home on the block with a pool and all the amenities, entertainment center, and it's priced well, it will most likely be a multiple offer situation and sell in a matter of days, not weeks, because there are a ton of homes. The average home here is really a well-heeled home. It's very nice. But if you're going to put your sights on something that is above average, which means it's going to be an exceptional home, it'll still be kind of a seller's mini market in those negotiations. So if you're buying in 2025, knowing your options and also when to be aggressive for the deal, or when being aggressive may not get the deal, is very important. So for the immediate area where you're putting your bid in, know what the stats are in the market, know what the market is doing. For example, I've had, in the last month, I've had a number of out-of-state buyers, Colorado, California, come, and they are stunned at what they're getting for $800,000, $900,000, $1 million, just absolutely stunned. And those were the average homes we looked at. But the one or two homes we saw that were over the top, but still priced the same, they wanted to wait and see what happened after a couple of days, and after a couple of days, the opportunity was gone, while all the other ones that were stunning in their own right, but they were average, were still here. And that's just an example of kind of knowing the micro details of the street, the neighborhood, the community that you're actually looking in here and what the market forces are. So when it comes to affordability as a buyer, well, it's all relative, as you hear people say sometimes. Yes, you'll usually get more house for your money than inside Dallas, absolutely. But prices in top suburbs have jumped big time in the last 5 years. What used to be entry level is now $450,000, $500,000 in places like Frisco, McKinney, Salina. The deals are still out there, just not where they used to be. And as a buyer, don't forget, property taxes and HOA fees can sneak up on you here in North Texas. Some neighborhoods have a high HOA dues, and newer communities often include what we call MUDs or PIDs. If you hear those terms, MUD or PID, just know it's going to mean probably more property tax. So property tax rates that we have here in Texas are already often above the Texas average, sometimes significantly. And other areas could be below the average, sometimes significantly. Know the area where you're shopping. The realtor has to give you expert advice on this stuff. And budget for the total monthly cost, not just the mortgage, because older homes with our heat here we have in the summer and sometimes our cold that we have in the winter will drive your utility costs way up, as opposed to a newer or new home where your utility costs will just be a fraction of what a home that's 30 or 40 years older would be. And if you're looking for a new construction, move-in ready home, you'll see signs for inventory homes that say, hey, we have like 11 spec homes, come and get them. But half of them aren't even going to be ready for 4 to 6 months. And if you want to go to a ground up build, that may be 8 to 10 months. So move-in ready may be longer than you think. If you're going to look at ground up build, it could be as low as 6 months or 4 months if you're buying a very small house, but usually around now it's about 8 to 10 months. And builder incentives change like they change their shirts. So always check day to day to day to know where the best deals are. As a matter of fact, with new construction, it can be even more of a factor because it's further away from our population centers. Remote work helps, but if you're commuting to Dallas or if you're commuting to Plano or Legacy West or the Frisco area, expect traffic and plan for tolls. Right? We have a lot of tollways here, especially if you're using the Dallas North Tollway. But they will save you a lot of time, but there is a cost. When you have to go to work and where you're coming from and going to make a big difference in your daily rhythm. So put that out on the map and do some scenarios and think through, when do I leave for work? When do I come back? What would the toll roads be? And so you can plan for what the cost of ownership is going to be in whatever house that you do buy. So if you're selling a home in the Dallas area, what do you need to know now? Well, as I stated before, it's not the seller's market of 2021. Overall, we can now be classified as a stable to declining, with an emphasis on declining in terms of home prices for now. You know, the frenzy's gone and homes just don't sell themselves anymore. Buyers are cautious, interest rates are higher, and overpricing, even parity pricing or pricing equivalent to everybody else, can actually hurt you if you're in a hurry. You have to know your competition and be open to discussions on negotiation. Don't just turn things down. If you're going to do that, price high and turn away offers that could be negotiated. You probably need to buckle up for the long haul. If you're selling, remember, presentation equals profit. So presentation just means your home needs to look the part. If you want top drawer on that price, your home probably needs to look top drawer on that price. Clean, staged, updated homes with great photos and videos, they win every time over the ones that aren't. And just remember, when you're thinking about the pricing and discussing that with your agent, you're going to be competing with new builds and resales. Know your competition. In the past, new construction was the primary competition because they were giving incentives and rate buy downs and cash and the rest of it. But now we're in a market where it's kind of the buyers are looking and being picky about what they buy. So there's a lot of equity in people's homes that they're selling, so they're willing to carve out some of that equity to match the incentives of new builders. So now look for the resales in many cases to give you some cash that's going to offset some of your costs, just like the new construction does. So builders in Salina and Little Elm and Princeton, they're offering shiny finishes, big incentives, and fast timelines for these smaller entry-level homes. But if you're selling a resale home, you've got to stand out somehow through presentation or pricing, or you get passed over. And that's why days on market are just going up for sellers here, almost 40% increases year on year in some areas that we're seeing. And as the market changes and home prices begin to decline slightly, it's not like the banks haven't noticed this either. So when the bank appraiser comes out, they're probably going to give your house less value. So there's less room, right, on the top end. So expect pushback, expect price drops unless you have just an exceptional location or exceptional condition or something that really drives the buyers to your home. So the days of as-is offers are kind of fading. Like we said in the buyers section, ask. It doesn't hurt to ask, negotiate, and people will be doing that. So condition and location, those matter, but price is everything. Pricing strategy is absolutely everything. Remember, you're competing against other sellers, and how you stack up against other sellers matters. So if they look at 6 homes in an area, they all look pretty much the same, what's going to be the differing variable that makes them choose the home that they choose? Well, it could be pricing. Now, if we're in a declining market, prices are going down, right? And you end up pricing ahead, and you're always chasing that price down, you may be on the market for a long time. But if you're priced with the declining market, you have a better chance. But if you're priced here for that market to run head on into you, you're probably in a good position as long as the presentation is good and the price, makes sense to what you're selling. That's why slide underpricing sometimes can spark a bidding war even in today's market. But just know this, the market the way it is, the buyers have kind of backed off a little bit, interest rates are still higher, we're in a declining value market. Strategy beats guesswork. Always do the homework. Have the demand that your agent do the homework that satisfied you as to why we're pricing it the way we're pricing it. Why is that going to give me a competitive edge? Well, I promised you 2 pro tips, one for the buyer, one for the seller. Let's start with the seller. Strategy is not a one and done. If you sit down at the listing presentation and you come to a conclusion that this is where the market is today and this is where we need to be, well, 30 or 60 days later, the market has absolutely moved. And if you're still working on a strategy from 30 days ago, 60 days ago, you're probably out of step with the market. Your agent should know the signs of when your home is being rejected by the market. So here's a tip. Ask your agent, what are the market signs that will show that my house is being accepted or rejected by the market? For example, if your home has had 12 showings and no offer, there's a good chance your house has become the justification for those 12 families that looked at your house and said, we need to buy the other one, right? You were the justification for why they bought the other house, because they didn't just stop buying houses. Somebody bought a house. So Don't be the justification house because of your pricing relative to condition and location. So there are certain metrics that you can measure the market to know if the market is rejecting your house during the sale. Ask your agent to explain how often they're going to review those and how they're going to react to those when the time comes. And of course, pro tip number 2 for the buyer, know what new construction offers, rates, cash, price, how much they're open to negotiating, which companies negotiate more than others, especially if you're willing to walk away. If you ask and they just say yes, you may have left something on the table. So if you ask and ask until the no's are once or twice, and of course, it can be very sensitive. Resales are a little different, but for new construction, ask until you get an absolute no. You never know what they may say. So whether you're thinking about leaving Dallas or just starting to explore a home here, I would love to have a conversation with you to help you get the clarity you need on all the moving parts so you make the right decision for you. And to set up a conversation with me, just call me. It's that simple. My number's right down below. And if you want to dive deeper into what it's really like living here, check out the next video, subscribe down below, get the notifications, and keep watching.